Before we get into the conversation, we gotta talk. Because some of y'all keep saying the dating pool is trash, but you're still fishing in the same water. Same type, same red flags, same situationships you swore you're done with. At some point, it's not them, it's your options. Your next crush is one download away. Meet them here, Jack That. If you're ready to switch it up, meet new energy, and actually connect with people who align with you, download Jack now. I'm serious. Open Jack now and see what you've been missing. Now let's get into the conversation. What's good, everybody? Welcome to another conversation with Micah B. This is a Black Gay Agenda original. I'm super excited for today's show. This is a show where we have, some of the same conversations that we do over on the Black Gay Agenda, but it's just a one-on-one interview and dialogue with me and the guests. This is another conversation. All right, we're going to get right into it. Today's guest is Todrick Hall, singer, songwriter, actor, and creative force known for bold visuals, original music, and building a massive independent platform. From American Idol to working with Taylor Swift to creating his own productions, he's built a career that stays at the center of culture, conversation, and sometimes controversy. But before we get into it all, we're going to do what we always do, and I'd like to welcome you to another conversation. How you feeling today, Todrick?
I'm good. Thank you for that intro, and thanks for welcoming me. I appreciate it.
No problem, no problem. So this episode right here is sponsored and powered by our amazing partners over at Jack. All right, our partners over at Jack. So we're gonna do a little icebreaker with you. Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, let's do the Jacked icebreaker. So this is called part one of this. All right, it's called first move or nah. Okay, first
Okay.
move or nah. So you open the app and see a message that just says, "Hey, are you responding or are you ignoring?"
I think I'm ignoring. Yeah.
You don't like just the hays.
No, I think I'm a little bit, I'm like a little, I wouldn't say high maintenance, but I think I deserve more than just a hey, you know?
So no
If
hays,
it's
no
a hey,
yos.
I'm not even offended. I just don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Okay, I feel
Yeah.
that. Use a couple of more words, right?
Use a couple more words. Be creative. Like, get my
Okay.
attention. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I agree. Okay, profile has no bio, just pics. And the pics, he's fine, right? He's 90 fine. Are you giving that person a chance or are you just gonna ignore that profile?
I think I'm gonna give it a chance. Just depend on how fine he is, but like I
Okay.
think if you can't tell me anything about you to know if we're compatible, I just want to know that it's not gonna be a waste of time because fine men
Hmm.
are a dime a dozen. It's like the intellect. What are your hobbies? What are you into? I don't want to waste valuable time getting to know somebody if we have no similar likes or interests.
I agree. Okay, this is one,
But
right?
that's a
So
maybe. It's not a no.
it's a
It's a
maybe. Okay.
yeah. I'm still intrigued. Yeah.
Okay. So, you're a very busy man. Busy,
Hmm.
busy, busy. So let's say you get on the app, you see a message come through, you don't have a chance to message them back, respond, and then you see that that same person sends like three or four messages after that. Is that somebody who you're gonna respond to, or are you gonna go ahead and get them up out of there?
If it took 3 or 4 messages for me to respond to them, I probably wasn't that interested to begin with.
Mm,
And that's my
right
answer.
shit. All right. Last one for this part, okay? Last one for this part.
Okay.
Someone on Jack recognizes you and leads with that. Oh my God, you're Todrick. Is that a turnoff for you?
No, I like somebody who's being real. So if that's their icebreaker and if they're saying something that is interesting to me, I would rather them acknowledge it than to not acknowledge it and say, "What do you do?" or something. Like if you already know what I do, I'd rather you just start there than to pretend that you don't. But if they genuinely don't, then I also love that too because I'm not expecting people to know what I do, and I would be
Okay.
intrigued by both. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that was nice little the first part of the icebreaker. Now we're gonna turn up the heat a little bit. This is
Oh
the
Lord.
jacked.
Oh
This
Lord.
is the jacked confession booth. All right, this is the
Okay.
jacked confession booth. Stories, icks, turn-ons, and all of the above. Okay. So first off, what is the biggest turn on for you when you're on an app like Jacked?
Well, I have a confession. I've never been on anything like Jacked before. I've never been on one
Okay.
of their competitors before, so this is my first experience with this.
Okay.
Um, but I think that what would my biggest turn on be? My biggest turn on would be somebody who has a really clear idea of what they want, somebody who's articulate, who is smart, who's intelligent, and who I think is in it to because I wouldn't be on there for a hookup. I'd be on there to like try to find a future partner, you know? So I would want
Mm,
it to be somebody who was looking for more, something real and something authentic and something that's meaty and like, you know, not surface level is what I
yeah.
would get my attention personally.
Okay.
Hmm.
Would you say that you've always been like that, or is that or have
Always,
you always been like that? So that's not
always.
something that came with age. That's just
No,
it's always been.
it's been since I was very, very 16 years old, I would say.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Knowing that, we're going to pivot a little bit, right?
No, I
We're
want to
going
know. Okay.
to. Okay. No,
Okay.
it's good. Listen, I
Okay.
do this, so we're going to make it work.
Okay.
Okay.
Take your
Boom.
time.
So what we're going to do is since you don't have a jacked, and shout out to everybody who maybe might not have one or who wants to have one. If y'all go to the first link in our bio, just click that link, and we're gonna get you hooked up and we're gonna get you set up with the people over there. All right, but let's go ahead and build you out your jacked starter pack.
Okay,
Okay, we're
I'm
gonna
single
get you
now,
out.
so I might actually have to do this in real life. You might be
Okay,
this might be the seed planted to get me on there.
so we got to do your profile headline.
Okay.
What would your jacked profile headline say? Since you don't have one, what would it say?
I would say um I would say something about forget what you heard. Like I want to come meet the real me. Yes, it's me.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't want to jump through because this won't be the headline. But anytime I have been on something, because I consider Jack to be like a more mature dating site. Like I've been on maybe a Tinder or something like that before. Um, and on those, I get kicked off of them because people think that it's not me, so they report me all the time. So I would want to say
Oh.
something about like, yes, it's me, not in a cocky way, but just to be like, don't delete me, like I like get to know me type of thing.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I love that actually. So we know the pictures. We talked about pictures. The pictures
mhm.
are sometimes the most important, one of the most important elements
Sure.
of your jacked profile, right?
Okay.
What are your three pictures? What if you only could upload three pictures to Jack, what would your three pictures be?
Well, I mean, I posted a picture the other day on my Instagram that was a little racy. I took it down, but
You
it
did.
depends on it depends on what my goal is. Like if it's the but this is the picture that I like send people all the time when I'm on social media. This is me. Like it's
Okay.
just like it's a headshot. But then I'd probably put some pictures on there that like that look like I would want to show a picture that like proved that it was me, not like a some sort of like professional shot. But then I would want to
Mhm.
do something that like was like giving like a little bit of body, you know what I mean, so they know what they're
Okay.
signing for. But it wouldn't be too much, it wouldn't be too explicit, because if the screenshot comes out and my mom sees it, I want to be able to like show up to Thanksgiving dinner and still have some
Mhm.
dignity, because my mom does not play that at all.
Okay. Now, what I will say is you did do a post and delete, but it was too late because the blogs had already picked it up, and
Oh, I know, I saw.
you were on Game Magazine within like 30 minutes.
And I saw those messy comments on there as well.
I mean, there's going to be messy comments, and we'll get into that later. But there's going to be
We
messy
will.
comments. That's what the people do on the internet.
I didn't delete it because of that. I deleted it because the next day I went to Philadelphia and saw Sound of Music, and there were all the Von Trapp kids in there, and they were all like, Todrick's here. And I forget that there's so many kids that know me
Mm.
from Disney Channel. I play a character named Carlos on Muppet Babies, and I have like a lot of young kids that dance to my songs and follow me. And as I saw them and knew that they were going to start following me, I was like, I don't want this to be the picture that's at the top of my Instagram. So that's why I deleted it. It had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Also, my mom said, Todrick, stop. Please take that down.
I don't
So
think it was that bad.
it was not that bad in comparison to other things that people post, but in comparison to anything I'd posted, it was pretty out there.
I
So
agree.
I was
That
like,
was I've never seen you show that type of skin, so I was like, oh.
did you double tap it though? Did you like it?
It
Or
got a double tap. It got a double
okay,
tap.
good.
I was like, okay. All
Okay.
right, so you're on Jacked. You see somebody you like. What's the first message that you're sending? It's not yo and it's not sup, of course.
I wouldn't know because like if I was on there, I would probably send something like based on what I saw them say. And I think that I'm pretty chivalrous. If there was like a time that people, wanted to expose things I said, I would be like, "Hi handsome, I saw your profile, would love to meet you. What city do you live in?" type of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would be that. It would be something respectful. It wouldn't be something crazy.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, when it comes to this conversation around our sponsor, Jacked, um, what's one thing that you think people do on an app that screams, "I'm not that serious"?
Well, I just think that the whole culture of like asking people if they want to hook up before you've asked anything about them, that lets you know that they're not serious, which is totally fine. But if you're not looking for
Hmm.
something serious, I think that's great. I don't think you should waste somebody's time pretending that you're looking for something serious if you're not. So
Right.
I kind of respect the fact that people just say what it is they want. And if it's not for me, then I just either ignore it or I just let them know
Hmm.
this is the tree that you shouldn't be barking up. Like you should go find somebody that's going to give you like a quick fix because it's going to be like a long journey before we get to that point, for
So
me.
you're not for hookup culture at all.
Not really. No, not really. I wouldn't say that I've never done it before, but it's usually
Hmm.
somebody that it's usually in a circumstance where it would be somebody I would date, but I'm on tour and I'm not going to ever see, I don't know if I'm going to see them again. So maybe I would make an exception in that sense. But if I'm like flat footed, like in a place, not living out of a suitcase and I see somebody that I'm interested in, it's like, I'm probably like really interested in like making like making a future or like giving it a shot. It wouldn't be
Okay.
like a flippant like a hookup one night stand type of situation usually.
Okay. I feel it. That's fair. All right,
Yeah.
y'all. What we're going to do, we are going to go to break, okay? You are listening to another conversation. When we come back, we are going to get into the meat and the potatoes of this conversation. We will be back after this. Let's take a quick break and talk about our sponsor, Jacked, the app that's really out here keeping the culture connected. Now, if you've ever opened up your phone late at night, scrolling, bored, maybe a little curious, we'll call it, this one's for you. Because let's be honest, sometimes you're not just looking to scroll, you're looking to connect. Your next crush is one download away. Meet them here, Jacked app. If you're new, download Jacked now. And if you already know what's up, you already got it in your phone, open Jack now and see who's close. Because somebody out there is definitely waiting to match your energy. Not tomorrow, but tonight. And look, we made it easy. You can click the link in our show description to get locked in. All right, shout out to our sponsors, Jack. Make sure that you go ahead and do what we just told you to do. But I'm here with Todrick Hall, and I'm very, very excited about this conversation. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning and just tell
Okay.
me a little bit about your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and what was growing up like for a young Todrick?
Well, I grew up in Texas. I was born in San Angelo, Texas, and I grew up in Plainview, Texas, which even if you were from
Okay.
Texas, you probably wouldn't know where that is. Um, excuse me. I I had like an interesting childhood because I went to this one school that was like in the neighborhood that I should have lived in based on like the zoning of the schools, where more black and brown people went. And then I had this incident where my teacher like was out of pocket. She called me the N word. I told my mom about it. My
Oh
mom
wow.
could have probably sued the school district, but we're not a litigious like family like that. And so she pulled me out of school and they said, you can pick any school you wanted to go to. My mom picked like the wealthiest school that she felt like would give me the most opportunities. And that's why when people talk about school zoning and stuff and like how important it is, the access and stuff, I can speak to that so clearly because everything about the way that I moved, navigated the world, spoke, interacted with other people changed from me being in pre-K and kindergarten, first grade to everything after that. I moved to a school that was like a lot more affluent. With the school that I used to go to was like, you know, people were fighting and it was like sort of in a dangerous, more dangerous neighborhood. And then I went to this school and when I walked in, the walls were like, you know, freshly painted, but great books. And they had programs that my school didn't have. And one of those programs was a gifted and talented program. And I was found by a lady named Pat Carthel who changed my life in a lot of ways. And I thank her in every program that I do because she came to me and tested me for the gifted and talented program. And at that point, I was obsessed already with the Wizard of Oz. It was the thing I was most fascinated by. And there was like 6 boxes and there were like squiggly lines in them. And they were like, turn these into things. And I turned them into Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, the Lion, the Good Witch, and the Bad Witch. And they put me in the gifted and talented program. She then introduced me to musical theater. She started taking me to go see musicals, Sound of Music, King and I, Carousel, all those musicals that I ended up falling in love with, and took us to go see the Nutcracker Ballet, which is how I started getting into the world of theater and dance and the fine arts. I started taking ballet at like 7 or 8 years old. And I was the
Oh
only
wow.
black kid. That was the only boy and the only black kid for most of my life in dance and in theater. I was like a double minority in that world. And that was before I even knew I was gay, but I was just the only boy usually and the only person of color. And then later on, there was another girl named Natalia who joined us, but you could count on one hand without using most of your fingers, how many people looked like me that danced there. But I think I'm glad that you asked that because I think it does a lot to like shape what my perspective has been. When you are hardcore in theater and dance, you do it every single day and it becomes like all consuming. It was like my life. I would go to school and just be like, this is a passive part of my day just to get to ballet and to theater. And my mom was able to get them to credit me for my physical education by going to ballet. So my mom
Mm.
drove me an hour to the closest dance studio and an hour back, so that I could train my whole life. So I thought I was going to be like a ballet dancer in a big ballet company somewhere. And that was my life growing up.
Okay. Um. So what age would you say that like the entertainment bug and the performance bug kind of bit you?
Like 7 or 8, like
Oh
very,
wow.
very young. Yeah, I was very
Yeah.
young. I was in the Nutcracker and I started doing ballet and training all year to prepare for that. And then around that time, the Brandy Cinderella came out, and that was like my introduction to like musical theater more so because I was mostly focused on
Hmm.
dance and ballet. And I loved that movie. I always loved Whitney Houston, and I would listen to I didn't sing in front of people. It was always like a secret thing. I would like play the tapes over and over again and try to learn Lauryn Hill's riffs and Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. And it was basically those three people: Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and um,
Lord have.
and Lauryn Hill were my favorite three. And then I found out about Brandy through Cinderella, and I just
Okay.
started like becoming obsessed with Brandy. Um, and yeah, I basically would sing on the side. I watched Sister Act 2. We went to the movie theater with my family to watch that, and I would listen to like Vanessa Bell Armstrong and Daryl Coley and
Oh, singers.
yeah, that was all I knew. You know, like I would know like Julie Andrews and Vanessa Bell Armstrong. Like it would be like two
Okay.
completely opposing things. So I'd be singing Sound of Music, and then I was listening to BB and CC Winans' Christmas album with my family all the
Oh
time.
wow.
And that's what
Hmm.
I grew up with, like juxtaposed. I felt like Hannah Montana in a way because everybody that was in my extracurricular life was like a white musical theater, uptight, really wealthy
Mm-hmm.
person. I was on scholarships. My family was very poor, and so I was a scholarship student. So I had to just always be there at all times. But then on Sundays, I was at church, and I sang in the choir, but I was never like a lead singer. And then
Okay.
my mom heard me singing "His Eyes on a Sparrow" from Sister Act 2, and she was like, "Is that my son singing that?" And
Mm.
I would always be pretending that I was like Lauryn Hill and the girl that she sings with, and I was like, "You take the top, I'll take the bottom," and I would be like singing, reenacting that. And my mom heard it and like started basically forcing me to sing in church, and so I
I love that.
started, I started singing in church, and so that's how I started getting the courage and confidence to sing out loud, and then I was dancing the rest of the time. But I was not joining those two worlds. I didn't really understand I could do musical theater and sing and dance. It's like I became obsessed with dance first, and then church led me into singing. And then when I got older and got to high school, there was a guy at my school. There was the only other gay guy that was out at my school, and I said the only other. I was in the closet. He was out, and he was a
Okay.
cheerleader.
That was my
And so then
question.
he made me want to be a cheerleader because he was so talented and stuff, and he was the first out gay guy that I had ever met. And so I just idolized him and wanted to be like him, and tried out for a
Mhm.
cheerleading squad, which taught me how to tumble and do gymnastics, which all of those skill sets eventually led to helping me be on Broadway.
Okay, so when did you so let's rewind just a little bit.
Okay.
When did you know you were gay?
Woo! Okay, when you say that, I don't know if I've ever told this story before, and I don't know if it's problematic, so if it is, delete it, but I don't think so. When I was like in eighth grade, I already kind of thought that I was probably gay, but I had this
Okay.
girlfriend named Sienna, and I was like, I was just thought Sienna
Okay.
was everything. And I remember genuinely being attracted to her and being excited to ask her out. And so I don't know that I knew I was gay at that point, but I remember that we all the kids from our church, like we would go on this all the black churches would go to Amarillo to the YMCA and have like this like sleepover if you had good grades. And I had good grades, and we went to this thing, and it was the first time I'd only done ballet. I'd never played any sports really or anything. And so we were all out, doing something, playing sports, and then we all went to locker rooms, and I went into the locker room to go shower, and it was the first time I had seen like all these naked men, and they were much older than me, but they were all like hanging out in the shower, and I just remember it like I remember sitting down and I was like, bitch, if I get up, it's over. Like they're gonna know. Like there's no way. You know when you're like going through puberty and it's like it is the hard.
Uncontrollable.
It's uncontrollable. It was the
Yeah.
hottest thing I had ever seen in my entire life, and I just was like, oh my god. And so that was when it was like it clicked. That's the moment that I remember it clicking and being like,
Hmm.
oh, you might be gay. You like, and then it was obviously a secret and not something I acted on for a while. But then the first people that I ever hooked up with were just guys that like went to my church that were like staying at my, cousin's house or something like that. And we would just kind of like, like go kiss in a closet or hook up in the closet or something. But it was just like always done behind closed doors and secretive. And it was like
Of
sort of an
course.
understood thing. We're never going to speak about this to anybody. And so when I moved from Plainview, this little small town, to Arlington, the DFW area, and I met this guy who was a cheerleader, it was extremely hot to me that because I knew that I didn't want to be a person that like lived in the closet. Like I'm so unapologetic about who I am, and like I've always been that way. So I knew that I was never gonna want to be like a down low type of person and stuff. I was like, I'm gonna want to date someone. And so
Hmm.
that was like my high school sweetheart. Like I was like very, very enthralled by his ability to like ask me questions that nobody else would ever ask me and to be so unapologetic about it. And he was the first time he was like, would you want to be boyfriends? And like I'd never heard the term boyfriends with an S at the end of it, like meaning
Right.
two boys being boyfriends. And
Hmm.
all of that, like he would make me mixtapes with songs on it. Like I remember
Oh,
falling in love with the
that was an
song Black.
era. Making mixtapes
Yes.
for somebody who you like.
Yes, he would make me mix CDs and with all these songs on it that I absolutely just like loved and like No Air was on there by Chris Brown and Jordan Sparks, and
Yeah.
Nobody Wants to Be Lonely with Ricky Martin and Christina Aguilera, and the song Drops of Jupiter by Train. And like there was just like all these like random songs that had been on the radio during that time. And Brown Eyes by Beyonce's Crazy in Love. I don't know what album it was on. No, I think it was a Destiny's Child album.
Yeah.
But he just like put a whole bunch of songs on there that I loved, and I was just like in love, like my heart fluttering,
Hmm.
and nobody had ever like spoken to me in the way that he did. So that was like my first introduction to like a relationship, a gay
Okay.
relationship.
And then when did you so when did you come out?
I came out shortly after I started talking to him. So I think that was
Oh,
like I was 14 or 15. I was very young.
yeah, especially during like what around what
This
year
was
was
like
that?
2001.
Yeah, so that's definitely it wasn't popular back then
No, no, it was
like
not
it is
popular.
now. Like now we see the kids like I talk about it all the time. A little while ago I saw like a homecoming proposal and it was two boys in a high school gym and it was like that
Unfathomable.
was yeah, now you're doing prom send offs with two dudes, two girls. So it's like the times was definitely different back there. So the fact that you were able to do that, but with that, being from Texas and living in Texas, very much very good old quote unquote Christian values and it's the Bible
Hmm.
Belt. What was that in the early 2000s trying to navigate your sexuality?
It was not easy, and my mom is Jesus's number one fan, and she's very,
Hmm.
very religious, and she was just not having it. And I think that I don't ever blame my mom for the things that she did to me at that time because all of our parents are like that. That's all
Oh
most
yeah,
Black people's parents are like that. She was raised to
prayed
believe
away.
these things. It was like, yeah, pray it away. She was, I wasn't allowed to have guys over, even if they were just friends. I wasn't allowed to have like
Oh, wow.
they could come over sometimes, but like I couldn't have the door closed or anything, even if it was another guy that was just a friend. Um, it was a really hard thing because I wish that I was able to like, you know, I think that a lot of us people our generation have difficulty like really taking that wall down and learning how to love each other because we learned how to be gay from porn. Like if you looked up gay, you're
Mm.
probably going to see something that was inappropriate. So over time, like this internalized homophobia idea, a lot
Oh
of
my
us don't
god.
even feel like we really have it because there were no movies, there was no like Love and Basketball, Notebook, Titanic, nothing that would like be like, oh, this is example of what a loving relationship should look like for us. Nothing. And and so I had to do like a lot of work before I ever even knew what therapy was to like try to figure
Hmm.
out like how do I exist in this planet because I've always been a leader, not a follower. I was never gonna. I knew that I was not okay like living my life lying to my mom, being okay with hiding it behind closed doors. I remember joining the cheerleading squad and having the choice between pants and shorts, and my mom wanted me to wear the pants because they were more masculine, and I knew that I wanted to wear these like little hoochie shorts. I wanted them to be as short as
Hmm.
they possibly could be. I wanted them to be the same length as all the
So
girls that were cheering. I knew that I wanted to wear them, but I remember making the choice to wear them. And then I remember my mom being like, okay, if that's what you're going to wear, that's what you're going to wear. And I got to the school and was getting ready to get out of the car. And I remember being like, you cannot ever turn back from this. Like, you are committing to the idea that you're going to be like,
mm,
no fucks given. I'm going to live unapologetically. And when I got out of the car, body freezing and closed the door and was like, I'm gonna walk into the school like this. It was like that was is a core memory in my life where I was like, you only get to live once. I've like really unfortunately had to bury a lot of friends and experience death at a very, very young age. And I think that that can either cripple a person or empower someone. And it
mhm.
empowered me. It need it made me be like, you only get one time on this planet, so are you going to make the most
Yeah.
of it, or are you going to be spending it worried about what other people are going to say about you? And so I just chose to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna be unapologetically me. And yeah.
All right. Wow. That is thank you for answering that. Thank you for answering that. I really love what you said about the a lot of us learned about being gay during that, who came up during that era. A lot of us learned being gay through porn. And then I think a lot of us learned how to date or not date through hookup culture because for a lot of us, we had to do everything in secrecy. So there was no, you didn't have to worry about being emotionally intelligent for hookups. You didn't have to worry about good communication and making sacrifices for all of that either. So I think
I
that
think we'll
definitely.
probably get to this later on in the conversation, but I think that
Hmm.
when you are black, on top, without the gay conversation even involved, like there is a level of like we need to be hard, we need to not smile, we need to not wear these certain things. Like black men need to be
Hmm.
tough. I'm writing a musical right now, and it talks about like somebody should have told you that black boys don't cry. It's one of the lines in the songs,
Hmm.
because it was just like the level of pressure that we, or the culture, not black culture, but like the culture of humanity that was in the zeitgeist at the time we were growing up, and even still exists now, is like you can't be weak, you cannot be soft, you cannot express emotion. There is a level of humanity that we exist with that is like ripped from us, and that is without the gay part even coming into entering the chat. Like the nuance of being gay exacerbates that concept by a lot, but just in general, it is like a thing that black people and black men specifically are taught not to cry and not to show their feelings and not to be vulnerable and not to whatever. And when I started like dating people, and the first person that I dated was a black man and the second person I dated was a white man, I noticed a very different experience between the person whose family nurtured them when they came out as being gay and the person who his family didn't know they were gay and he had no intention of telling them anytime soon. It that freedom to be who you are and feel loved and feel like your family is going to be beside you even whether you bring a boy or a girl home is a different type of freedom that I wish that we had. I saw that in one of the first people I dated and hoped that my mom would have that, and she did not
Hmm.
have that in the beginning, and that's no fault of her own, but she wasn't ready to be like welcoming home some boy to come sit at our dinner table and bringing them to the family reunion and homecoming dinners and Christmas
Hmm.
and Thanksgiving. She wasn't ready for that because that would have gone against everything that she had committed to her life to believe in. And so that was a thing that at the time at 14, 15 years old I didn't understand, and I took that as though her love was so conditional and that she didn't love me. So I had to like figure that out by myself without going to therapy, from just trying to like understand and have a grasp what part of humanity would make a parent like prioritize their religion and their social status and what people at church were going to say over the to them over the mental health and love for their kid. That was a hard thing for me to like under to try to navigate at a young age. I don't know if any of that made sense, but that
Mm.
was rough for me.
We're gonna get more into that a little bit later.
Okay, great.
Um, a slight pushback, a small pushback. Um, I don't know if it's because we say that a lot. That I've heard that said a lot that white people are allowed to be gay where black people aren't, or something along the source of that. But I think that's not true either. I think it's what white people are. Or what I'm saying is, if you look, a lot of the people in the Bible Belt is and who are white, that's not acceptable to this day. The church crowd, the probably the MAGA crowd, they're not welcoming their gay children, their LGBTQ children with open arms. I think part of it, I think it has more to do with religion and the interpretation of religion,
Yeah.
um than it does. And if you realize, a lot of black people just happen to be extremely, extremely, extremely Christian based, you
Hmm.
know. And they say the Bible says this. Whether they have a right interpretation of what the Bible says or not, that's another conversation. um
I think
but
that okay, you
I
continue.
think, yeah, but I think it has more to do with religion and the practice of religion. Because there's a lot of people who just don't care. But church culture has been, Christian, especially Christianity, but church culture has always gone hand in hand with black culture, and I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
I agree with that. I guess what I'm saying is when you're talking about that, it feels when we were growing up, you were saying like white people are not okay with their kids being gay either. But the difference
Yeah.
is, I think a lot of white people knew that their kids were gay, and a lot of black people did not, because
Mm.
a lot of black people are okay with living in secrecy, whereas the white kids felt comfortable enough to even tell their parents, and so their parents could educate them about HIV and AIDS awareness. When you look at the statistics of how many people just as a whole are being infected with HIV, I don't know this to be true, and this is like a not as based on a statistic, but I think that when you have a group of people that have been suppressed like by society for a long time and don't even feel comfortable enough sometimes existing in these spaces, let alone coming in swinging saying these are all of the things that I'm bringing to the table with me, um,
Hmm.
I think that white people will go get their kids on medication, that they will go talk that whatever. But if the black kids are not going and even telling their parents, or the parents are like, we're not going to acknowledge this, then the idea of going and getting medication to live that life safely is not even a conversation that we're having, because we don't want to tell them, because we know what that is going to look like. And I'm
Yeah.
just saying, from my personal experience, a lot of my white friends families knew at a much younger age than the people who are in my black my own family members that are gay as well
Right.
don't talk about it. They would never dare bring somebody home, and they're 30, 40 years old. And the white people whose families are still serving the same religion, a religion that they, you know, like taught us when we got brought over here. Like it's not it's just it's a complicated conversation to have, because we're all
For
serving
sure.
the same religion. But what you're saying, I don't disagree with that. I don't think that it is okay. But why is it that white people are telling their parents, and they're going to conversion therapy, and their parents are taking them to therapy and stuff? They're taking
I
them
mean, that's
because,
still a problem. Going to conversion therapy is still it's still an issue.
for sure, but what I'm saying is that they know about it. Whereas, like,
Okay.
a lot of us are in the closet. They're not even telling them for them to be able to
Hmm.
respond to them with some sort of therapy. I think it's all fucked up and problematic.
For sure.
But I think that,
I think
yeah,
that's. I think that also goes to, and then we'll get to the next part of the
okay,
conversation. But I think that also goes to just how we, as a culture, deal with a lot of things historically. A lot of things are done in secrecy. We find out now that, late years later, you find out that aunties are actually mothers, or sisters are actually the sisters actually the
or that
mama.
uncle was touching auntie, or that like
Hmm.
this stuff that has been kept a family secret for a long
Yes.
time.
What happens in this house stays in this house. So like that's a whole nother conversation that we can have, because that's is a culture of silence and secrecy. But this is good. All right, we're going to get back into that a little bit later. If y'all are enjoying the conversation, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, join in on the convo, and let us know what you all think about what we're talking about. But now let's get into like the building of your career. So we got into your background, which was important. Um, what was your very first "Oh, I made it" moment?
I think that would have come much later, and I think making it is like so different. So I would say my quick answer is like, when I opened In the Color Purple, that was in
Mm.
2006. So I was like maybe 20, 21 at that point, and that was one of my first moments, because it was always my dream just to get to Broadway. I wasn't even thinking of anything bigger than that. I never had any aspirations to pursue fame or anything like that. It was more just like, I want to be on Broadway. So that was one thing. The second thing was like, then I started getting all these, the second moment that comes to mind is I was in Forbes 30 under 30, and when they reached out to me, it was like, we're interviewing millionaires that are under 30. And I was like, well, why are they interviewing me? Like, I'm not a millionaire. Like, I didn't think of myself as that. And then my business manager at the time was like, you definitely are making more than $1 million a year, babe. And that was like an aha moment, because I had just been working so hard that I was never buying, like, I didn't even have a car. I was just like making content, making content. So that was a moment. But one of the biggest moments I would say is like when I went back to Broadway in 2016, almost 10 years after I had debuted in The Color Purple, when I starred in Kinky Boots. That was like the biggest moment
Yes.
that comes to mind when you say that, because I remember like selling out the theater on Broadway, and for people to be coming from all over the world who had never seen Broadway shows before, who were like, I came to this show because you were in it, and I wanted to see my first Broadway musical because you were in it. That was like, I, I didn't believe in myself enough to think that I could lead a Broadway show. And even though I
Mm,
was definitely out and had been out since I was 14 or 15, the idea of playing this character who was in drag was another hurdle or obstacle I had to jump as like a human being, because I felt like it was like feminizing me in a way that would make me undesirable to other people. And then I realized that Wayne Brady had just done it. And I was like, well, if Wayne Brady can do it, I can do it. But it's a thought that you wouldn't even think I would have to consider at that point. But it was something I was like, for my face to be on billboards all in Times Square, but I'm as a woman, not myself, is like a difficult journey for
okay.
me. Not difficult, it wasn't difficult, but just like a thing that I had to be like, this is going to be a part of your branding now. People are going to sometimes see you as this, like, you know, drag female presenting cross-dressing character, as opposed to seeing you as in your male form. So it was a like double-edged sword, but it was something that was like very very helpful for me. It made me grow as a person. I learned so much about myself going through that. I was going through a breakup at the time that I was going through that, so it felt like I was like metamorphosizing. I was like shedding skin and going into another era.
Mm, okay. So you brought up Broadway. Recently in the news, we saw that Meg The Stallion's on, Moulin Rouge, and
Yeah.
she had a tough time, passed out or whatever. She's back now, but they talked about, and she's in shape. She does all of the things, right? She's been on tour and all of these things, but they said that the Broadway lifestyle and the regimen for Broadway is so much different than anything that anyone has ever done. Can you kind of
Yeah.
talk to me about that lifestyle?
Yeah, I think even big stars, they do a show that's a couple of hours and it's like in keys that they are used to singing. They have in ears and speakers blasting their way. There's like an insane amount of adrenaline. So I've done those type of tours before, not at the level of a Meg Thee Stallion or a Beyonce, but those are, people that I look up to who are also from Texas. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to do 8 shows a week is like a completely different beast. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
people on Broadway get a bad rap and they're like, it's cheesy or whatever. But that's why I've always been like a proud theater nerd, because I think that the people who work the hardest in this industry, as far as performing, singing, dancing, acting, the people who work the hardest are people who are on Broadway. It's not easy to be a triple threat, just in general. It's not easy to be able to act, sing, and dance at the same level,
Yeah.
all three of them, and to do it live with no tracks, no pre records. It's hard. But those schedules, that matinee, I mean, you would never do 8 shows a week if you were a superstar. Like, they don't do matinees, there's only 7 days a week. So 2 days out of the week, we're doing 2 shows, and it's just really, really intense. It's
Right.
really hard, and I think people underestimate it. And I think Broadway actors make it look easy, but it's not easy. And anybody who has ever come from like the commercial world to do a Broadway show, I was there at Meg Thee Stallion's first night, and she was amazing. I mean, especially considering she's not a person who has trained in musical theater. For her to be able
Mhm.
to go and not drop a single line, and to carry that with that much pressure, walking into a cast of people who've been there for 7 years, and like creating this new family of people who work really hard. Some people come and they don't do it in the most humble way. It's a very clear divide between them and their entourage and the cast. And I happen to know a lot of
Yeah.
people cast with her, and they're like, she's just amazing. She doesn't, there's nothing bougie about her. She's like sweet, and everybody feels like they can go up and talk to her. There's not this big separation or divide where you can't go
Mm-hmm.
speak to her. And so I love that she's doing it the right way. It seems like she has a genuine, like undeniable respect for the art form. And at her opening night speech, she was like, you guys have made me realize I thought I was working hard. It's nothing on this. This is insanely hard work. I'm happy that she's doing it, because she's bringing a whole new group of people to Broadway who would normally never go see a Broadway show, and they're loving it.
Um, One criticism that I've heard about you,
Hmm.
and it's not just you, it's people who don't make. Lizzo got a lot of the same heat when she first came out. It
We
was
say
like,
don't
yeah,
make what?
we're getting there. That
Okay.
don't make quote unquote, right? It's not my
Uh-huh.
words. Quote unquote black music, right? And I say that because I remember when Lizzo came out, there were a lot of conversations online about, oh, I can't really get into her. She makes white music. Um, whatever, whatever. How has there ever been a challenge for you? Because you've been doing this for a long time. Has there ever been a challenge for you to make more quote unquote soulful music, more music that is traditional R&B and soul versus like the musical theater pop stuff? Have you like how do you navigate that world? And do you think that if you did make the switch, you could possibly um what's the word? Ingratiate yourself more with the traditional black audience.
That is a big question, and I've always thought it was weird because I know that being black is not a monolith. Like there shouldn't be blackness police saying that your artistry isn't black enough, or it's not black. It's for white people. Like I'm black 100%. I'm not like biracial or anything. So if I'm making it, by definition, it is black art to
Black music.
me. It's black music, and I think that like when I see Audra McDonald and she's winning the most Tony Award decorated human being, who a lot of like my black friends don't know who she is, but
Hmm.
she's a monumental like iconic figure in the world that I respect, and she sings opera music, and then Misty Copeland, being one of the first like principal dancers at the New York City Ballet. It's like those things inspire me, and I sort of am confused sometimes as to why there's like this need for us to fit inside this box when we are a culture that has been trying so hard to get out of a box, but it feels like sometimes we within the call is coming from within the house that we want to make people be inside that box. Like there's not a shortage of people making traditional R&B music, but also a lot of the people who have these things to say haven't listened to the album from beginning to end. It's like Christians that have never read the Bible from beginning to end. I'm like, if you're going to make this your identity, you should read it. Like
Hmm.
you, at the
Know what it
very least,
says for real.
you should read it from cover to cover a few times if it's going to be your whole identity. And I think that there's just a lot of people who love to talk and they love to read headlines and they don't want to do the work because they're lazy and they're okay with being uneducated and ignorant. There's no consequence, especially if you have not a picture of you on your social media. If it's like a fake profile, there's no consequence to you going on saying he makes white music. I was actually doing an interview with somebody and I did an album and they were like, why now are you deciding to like collaborate with all these black people? Is it because you got so much criticism from Straight Out of Oz and people kept calling it white? And I was like, it's so strange because my collaborations on Straight Out of Oz are Wayne Brady, RuPaul, Jordan Sparks, Amber Riley, Tamar Braxton, Tracy Toms, like there there's probably more people. I'm trying to think about Raven Simone is on there. Like there's a lot of collaborations more with black people than there are white, but because it doesn't sound like and it's not talking about because it's talking about the Wizard of Oz, I think people have a difficulty like in their mind saying like this is not white art. This is a black man who's telling something creative. He's clearly a musical theater nerd. Like most of
Hmm.
the most iconic theatrical moments are people doing stuff from Lion King and Jennifer Holliday singing "And I Am Telling You" on Broadway. There's nothing
Yeah.
we have like done some of the most iconic things on Broadway, and so it frustrates me a little bit that people. I think that those comments are uneducated, and there is no part of
Hmm.
me now that wants to change my artistry to appeal to those people because that's chatter on social media. But when I sell out my concerts and people come to the meet and greet, there are so many black people that say thank you for existing because I don't listen to Chris Brown or Neo or Usher or this other black man and see myself in them. I'm a musical theater lover. I I want to hear somebody singing Rodgers and Hammerstein or Pasek and Paul or I want to hear an Andrew Lloyd Webber,
Yeah.
but that who was a black man. That's important for it to exist, and I think it's really, really short-sighted and narrow-minded of people to expect me to change my artistry rather than open up their minds and educate themselves.
This is such a good conversation. I just I think that people are going to enjoy. I think that people are going to enjoy this conversation. All right. So Taylor Swift, T Swizzy. Um, how did that happen? Working with her.
So two of my friends, Elliot and Camilla, who are both people that I did hairspray and musical theater with, who sing for her. They have been background vocalists for her for years. I had this series called Four, where I would do four Beyonce, four Gaga, and I did four Taylor. they saw it, and I just happened to be doing a college event in Kansas City, and she was there doing her tour. I posted it like a day or two before, did not even realizing she was going to be there at the same time. They saw it, showed it to her, and they were like, "You got to come to the concert." And it happened to be like an hour away from where I was. I went there. They went back. I went backstage afterwards. I met her. We hit it off. She followed me on social media, and one day I DM'd her and was like, "Let me know if you ever want to hang out." And gave her my number. And then I got a call one day, and she was like, "Do you want to come to Vegas with us?" And I was like, "Who is this?" They were like, "Taylor." I was like, "Taylor who?" And she was like, "Taylor Swift." And so I hopped on a private plane with her, went to Vegas with her friends, and we went. This is when she was dating Calvin Harris in Vegas, and we went and partied. And all of a sudden, she just started inviting me to stuff, and then we just became friends.
So do you think, because this is all building up to, the internet's perception of you and what they
Yeah.
think of you or whatnot, do you think that your relationship with Taylor Swift and then the people's perceived, the public's perceived, it's the internet again. It's Beyonce versus Taylor Swift. Like there's some weird thing going on there. And then, the people take sides. And then because of that, you're in connection with Taylor Swift. And now that's another reason 101 why people see that you're reason 101 why people think that you're anti-black. Do you think that has had something to do with the narrative as well?
I don't know, but at a certain point, when you're an adult, you have to look at the situation and say, do you feed into this thing? Those women have said 8 billion times that they are not anti each other. They have taken photos with each other. They have gone to each other's events and supported each other. For people to be taking some narrative, because people look at that Kanye West situation and they kind of forget that Beyonce
Hmm.
came up on stage afterwards and said, I had this incredible moment when I won my first MTV Video Music Award, and I want her to get her opportunity. People have erased that part from their memory because
From
it's
the
not.
yeah.
And it's actually something that I think is really incredible, that speaks to the nature and uh, the gravitas that Beyonce has. It's for Black people to forget that part exists when she showed such a level of class and decorum in that moment is kind of ignorant. Like there's no issue, and getting to meet. And I don't want to talk out of term because I get in trouble for saying things sometimes, but I got to sit down like on the set of one of Taylor's videos and talk to her mom, and she told me about that story. And to be a mother and watch your child work really hard to get to that point, and then have somebody come in and discredit their accomplishment. When Taylor was getting an award that was great, but Beyonce received a better award. It was like album of the year, like the best album, the video of the year, whereas Taylor got one that was like female video of the year, and someone else got male, and Beyonce got the ultimate video. If Kanye had waited, like he everybody was going to get their flowers that day no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think so many things can exist at one time. I think Kanye was probably like very frustrated with the fact that at that moment Beyonce had been being overlooked, and it's happened for eons and eons and eons. So I like do respect the idea of anybody that would go up and speak for a Black woman like Beyonce, who has worked so hard. What she has done is incredible, and nobody's a bigger Beyonce fan than me. Like I have her "What Would Beyonce Do" tattooed over here. This says
Okay.
two most wanted. I'm a massive Beyonce fan, and I got to choreograph for Beyonce, and I've gotten to work for her, and she's been very nice, and like a huge part of the reason why my YouTube channel got so big. But I don't see a
Hmm.
reason why I can't do like Cinderance, my Cinderella, my Beyonce video, and for Beyonce, I did a Target flash mob video. Like some of my most viral videos were things that were like a node and odd and homage to Beyonce. Why I have to choose between one of those two people is kind of like a ridiculous thing. And how much should we allow the internet to dictate what our friendships are going to be? It was a really good life lesson and career lesson for me to be in such close proximity to Taylor, because I learned so many like invaluable lessons that I couldn't have learned anywhere else, from being in such close proximity to her. And I knew that she didn't have an issue with Beyonce. And every time she would be talking about something, I'd be like, I love you, but Beyonce is my girl, and you know this. Like she's my
Right.
number one, but now we can talk about you. And she'd send me flowers that Beyonce would send me a picture of it and be like, I'm never getting rid of these flowers. My life is made. And one time she said, Taylor might have said this to me. I don't remember who said it, but I think it was Taylor. She was like, I'm famous to people who are not famous, but Beyonce is famous to famous people. When she walks in the room,
Mm.
we all respect her. Like everyone respects
Yeah.
her because she's at that level of fame. And I've
We
never
saw
seen
that at her concerts, all the last two tours. It was like every city was like, oh, who's Issa Rae's here? Oprah Winfrey's here. Tyler Perry's here for the eighth time. Like,
everybody's there,
yeah.
everybody, and she transcends like race. I mean, she like every race, every ethnicity, whether you're Latinx, if you're Asian, if you everybody respects Beyonce. And every
Hmm.
time I spoke to Taylor about Beyonce, she just had like the most raving, like 5-star Yelp review you could ever give to her.
Hmm.
And she also talked to me about how kind Beyonce was backstage. She said that she came, Matthew Knowles and Beyonce came into her room to get her ready to get up on stage after that situation happened. She was like, they said, she said that they were like, get up, wipe your face up. You have to go out there and stand up and be proud of what you have done. You can't let that like knock you down. This is a really rough industry. And I just loved when she talked about how nurturing Beyonce was to her to get her to like be like, you want to hang with the big dogs, this is the time. Like stand up, dust yourself off, and go out there and be proud of the work that you and your team have done, and don't let that throw you off. And people don't know that story, and I don't want to like, it's not my story to tell, so I don't want to say the things that they said verbatim. I also don't remember
Yeah.
them. But when I hear stories like that about how kind Beyonce is when no one is looking, that made me even more of a fan of her, and I wouldn't have known that without my relationship with Taylor.
All right, so now now that we're here, we're talking about the internet. We're talking about the stories. We're talking about perception and misconceptions. We're going to get into the things, okay? And we're
Okay.
going to start off with dating and perception,
Okay.
okay? People say that you primarily date outside of your race. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if you've seen that on the internet.
You're not sure if I've seen it. I've seen it, babe. It's hard not to see.
So, what's your initial response to that?
I'm always just confused. I mean, because like I posted a picture on my birthday that I where I was naked, and they posted it on Gay Magazine, and the majority of the comments were just like, "Well, this ain't for us. This is for somebody white." And I'm
Hmm.
always kind of confused, and I want to like, I wish I could get all those people on a Zoom call and be like, "Are y'all interested in dating me?" Like, because if you're not interested and if we're not fucking, then I don't understand why you care who I'm dating. And
Okay.
that part is that's the first and foremost. The second thing is that like if people only knew who I dated, I think that it like everybody that I have ever dated that's black is like when I see that, I want to just go on there and be like, this is just crazy. It's just not true. Um, I have dated a lot of white men, and most of those men I meet in musical theater and stuff. And um, a there's not a lot of black men in musical theater, and B, a lot of these black men that are in musical theater don't date other black men. It's not me. There have been black men that the gay community
Okay, because they
rides
might
for.
say that's you.
Yeah, they might say that, but that is not the case. Like there have been
Okay.
black men that the gay community rides for that are posted on Gay Magazine that they think are just like blackety black bitawards.com, like Wakanda the musical, and they're not. When the curtain closes, they
Hmm.
are the ones that are at home with the Brady Bunch. Like it's not me, like I mean, it could also be me given whoever I'm
Right.
dating at the time, but it's just interesting that like those people are so concerned about their perception that they wouldn't dare tell people that they are dating somebody white. I've heard them say it. They're like, if the internet finds out that I am dating somebody white, it's over for me. So they're like basically hiding it. And I'm like, I just don't see a world where it is worth it. That you're being disingenuous, inauthentic, and for what? For just to prove to some people that you don't know that you are about that life when you're not. Like I don't know. And then for me, there have been guys that I've been like trying to talk to, and later on they're like, "Oh, I thought you weren't into black guys." And I'm like, "You were wrong, and that's why you shouldn't be on the internet living your life via headlines that somebody else said, because that's just not true." And I think that some of the hottest guys that I've dated, some of my like when I've had a boyfriend, I'm like, this is my hall pass. Like there are people on social media that I'm like, if this person tried to talk to me, it's over. Like I would be down.
Hmm.
So I think it's just like an ignorant thing. Do I like white men? Absolutely, but I don't exclusively like white men. I'm an equal opportunist. If the booty is big, I'm in. I've said that a billion times, forever and ever. And people, if they don't believe it, then they won't DM me.
I don't necessarily. If somebody wants to date outside their race, that's them, right? Do what you do. But I think when it becomes, I like this because this over here, when you point out a deficiency, and not saying that's what you're doing, but I
Okay.
like white. When people are like, I like white men because black men aren't emotionally intelligent, or black men do this, or black men do that. The same way we see, some black men will say, "Oh, I date black women. I don't date black women, but white women are more submissive." They're boom, 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 boom. I think that's where the problem comes. Um,
Yeah, but I
you
don't
don't
think that
have to
anybody should
kick.
make
You said what?
I don't think anybody should make a blanket statement about any one race and say they all do this one thing. I mean, I think the same thing about people who are like, I would never date somebody outside my race. I kind of feel like I'm watching The Land Before Time where they're like, long necks stick with long necks. I'm like, for you to make a definitive statement that you will
Mm-hmm.
never date somebody that's outside your race when you have not met all of these people, there's a billion people in the world, I think is like a sort of like a closed minded approach to life. I think you can be like, I usually don't, but if the right person came along and they might have to jump through a hurdle or hoop I wouldn't make somebody who looked like me jump through. But if that person challenged me and brought out stuff in me and like and I felt like we could click, um, then I wouldn't rule that out. I think that that to me is just like I think that is sometimes a part of why there's so many people that are in relationships that don't last or aren't the best thing for them, that don't help them grow. Not specifically when someone that looks like us, that I only date people that look like us, but a lot of us try to like orchestrate who the person is going to be that we're going to fall in love with, and I don't think that we can predict that. I think that sometimes a really really great person is standing right in front of us, and because they don't look like what we watch in porn, what we have imagined our life to be, we can't fathom the concept. We can't think outside of the box enough to know that that couldn't be our person. I've done that because I went on a date with a trans man before, and I was like, I think this is might be too much for me, and I like closed that off before I was like, you know what, I should I should try it. Like I should just go and try it. If this person speaks to me, like and I liked everything up until the point they told me that they were a trans man, and then that scared me so much that I was like, I think that that is outside the realm of what I'm able to do. And I wish that I could go back to that moment and say, you know what, it's not gonna hurt me to like get to know this person a little bit more and see where it leads. But that's just my opinion. I find that a lot of people from every race and every gender say
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this is what I'm really into, and this is and I think to have a preference of something is one thing, but to be closed off where there are people who are like, I would never date somebody who is this race is like that's kind of wild to me a little bit in 2026.
It is, but it isn't. I mean, so what would you say to like, because it's levels to this, and when it comes to certain things, it's like,
It's levels to this.
so it's levels to this. We can't deny the fact of the country that we live in. We
Mm-hmm.
can't deny the fact that the history of this country, and history that we're seeing repeat itself here in 2026 with the current, not to be too political, but life is political. The current administration and peeling back things and cutting back things, especially when it comes for black and brown people. And what I will say is this.
Who's to say
I
that
mean,
you're going to date somebody in this country though? Just like why limit yourself to somebody who when you the world is so big.
racism is global. Racism is global, though.
No, I know, but you said what we're dealing with in this country, the what
Well,
we
because
how
I'm
our
speaking of, I live in America right now, and this
oh
is
yeah.
what I'm speaking specifically to
Okay.
where I'm at.
Okay,
For
got
this,
it.
I get what you're saying, though. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, personally, um, especially when it comes to white people, right? Cool. I don't, I do not align. I'll just say it. I personally, right, can't can't date a white person. And that's not saying they're all white people are bad. However, most white people have at least one family member who don't rock with black people.
Most black
That's
people
my
have a
belief.
family member who don't rock with gay people, and that's part of who you are.
Huh? Say that again.
Most black people have at least one family member who don't rock with gay people, and
They
that's part
do.
of who you are. That doesn't stop you from dating somebody gay.
No, but exactly, but I don't want to have to deal with your I don't want to have to deal with your homophobic parent and your homophobic racist parent. You get what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah,
have the capacity for that. Can it happen? Can you have a homophobic parent? Yes, but I don't want to deal with both. And from my lived experience, I've experienced too much racism in this country, whether it is overt or covert. There's some type of internalized racism, the microaggressions, and all of those things. I don't want to have to explain to another white, and I've had to explain certain things to white people, and they're good white people, right? They're not racist. They're not racist.
yeah.
But then I'm sitting here and I'm having to explain to you. I'll never forget a conversation I had with an old coworker, and she was a great lady, right? But she said something, and it was after Breonna Taylor, and she said, "I just don't understand. Like, I know the cops did something wrong, but she should have just complied." One, that didn't even fit the narrative of what actually happened with Breonna Taylor.
Hmm.
But it's those type of things that sometimes people aren't doing it on purpose, but they say things like that. They ask certain questions and they don't understand the oppression that black people have faced. They don't understand all of the things that have happened in our communities and the redlining. They don't understand the lack of resources. They don't understand gentrification and all of these little intricate things. I personally don't want to have to sit and explain these things to a
And
potential
school
partner
somebody. Yeah.
and school somebody. So I don't think it's not a matter of that. So that's why I limit myself because it just for me is too much. I don't want to have to figure out how we're gonna love each other and figure out how I'm gonna teach you about my existence.
Yeah. I get that. I'm not saying that it is an easy thing. And by the way, I'll be the first to admit that I have been in situations where I have experienced racist stuff at the hands of family members of people that I have dated. I have experienced racism at the hands of friends, their family members, like things that they have slipped up and said around me because they got too comfortable around me. And I
Hmm.
have a hot take that will probably get me canceled again. I sort of like I don't want to say that I like miss the old school ways of people being like no fats, no femmes, no blacks, no Asians. I don't miss that. But there's this part of this like current society that is so PR trained and so rehearsed that they can almost gaslight you and manipulate you. I wish that I just knew back then when people would say things like that. I'd be like, great. I love that I know already who you are, and so I know that I don't fuck with you, and I know I don't fuck with if you have close friends that feel that way, then I don't really fuck with you or your friends and or you know what I mean? But now everybody is so PR trained and they know what to do that they're like, we're not racist. And they know all of it that they have educated themselves on ways to like dodge the loopholes of you clocking their prejudice, their bias, racism, whatever you want to call it. And that is interesting to me. All and scary and frightening to me that we
Hmm.
live in a society where everybody is so ready and they might not use their education and their resources to learn about your culture, where you came from, learn about why black people have been oppressed and what you should be doing to like try to make life easier for them. They like to call you during the pandemic. I got so many calls. I have so many white friends who wanted me to basically educate them and do Zoom calls and tell them about whatever. And some of them I did take the time to talk to them because they were people I cared
Hmm.
enough about to talk to them. But some people I was like, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing this. But
Yeah.
I just think that there is. I'm not trying to change your opinion at all. Like you
Hmm.
should date whoever you want. There's nothing I could do to change your opinion. I just don't think that it should be considered like basically a sin in the community for you to be dating somebody that's outside your race. If somebody, you know, if I would, for me, musical theater and the things that I love are such a big deal. And there are some times when I date like black men that they're like, this is not, I don't want to go see Sound of Music. I don't want to go see Phantom of the Opera, babe. It doesn't do anything for me. It's I just don't like it. I don't enjoy that. That's something that I want to do with my partner. It's a huge part of my life. I've seen like 500 musicals. It's the world that I want to make money from. And so if you hate it, if you hate this thing that I love, that I want you to be my plus one to, I think that because my life is so emerged in that world, like that would probably
Hmm.
not be a good fit for me as a life partner because it's something
It's
I
a
want to.
lot of it's a lot of black men and black people in general. I know quite a few, right? Personally, there's a
Yeah,
lot of black people who love musical theater.
I know. I've dated them. I'm just saying that is one thing that sometimes when that is like a stipulation for me.
Okay.
But like if to you you're like I don't want, when you're describing this you're like I don't want to deal with their potentially racist and biased relative, but you don't know
No,
for
well, my
sure.
politic is my that's not even my politic. I my actual politic, and this comes from my years and years of doing like activism work and whatnot and what I've seen. Um, inherently, I believe I believe that most white people are racist. Whether
Yeah.
that's something that and it's internalized racism, just like we can understand the concept of internalized and homophobia,
Mm-hmm.
which so many people have, and then that's where you see the whole mass versus femme, and then
Yeah,
obviously we
for
break
sure.
those things down as we do the work. But yeah, I personally feel that most white people have internalized racism. So for
I
me,
also feel that
that's
way.
just that's something that I just don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
That's just my personal belief.
I do share that belief with you. I genuinely feel that there are a lot of people who, to me, it doesn't feel any different than going to somebody's house who doesn't, who their family doesn't want them to be with somebody who's a man. Like
Mhm.
whether they're white or black or Asian. That's like if they're homophobic, I will deal with it because I know that that's part of their upbringing. But I think that that entire mentality is problematic. If they wouldn't show up to our wedding, if I was marrying their son or whatever, I find that to be problematic no matter what race they are. And it's frustrating to me. But like, you know, I dated a guy that people got mad at me that I was dating him because he's white and he is half white, but his mom was Sri Lankan. I went to Australia and I hung out with them, and they deal with this a different type of racism and stuff over there, and religion is
Mhm.
not as big of a deal over there, and they don't, it is no big deal that we're getting married, but the racism is a, looks different, feels different, because racism, like you said, is universal. But I went there, and but people would look at him as though he were only white, and I was like, wow. When I go over there and listen to their struggles of what they went through in Sri Lanka, I'd be like, oh, this is wild. It's not hundreds and hundreds of years of indoctrination and slavery, but it's not nice. But I was happy that I didn't look at him as just a person who might share these same beliefs, because going to another country that takes us 16 hours to get to feels like sometimes a different planet, and the way that they look at these things is very different. So I guess all I'm saying is that, like, I understand what would it take for you. I know you're interviewing me, but is there any world where if you were single and somebody met you and they were like, I just want to date you, I would like to take you out on a date, I would like to get to know you, if they were white, it would just be a hard no before you even got started?
It would be hard no. I love black
Right.
men. It would be a hard no.
Well, I think that that is the stance that a lot of people on the internet want me to have, and I just will never
Hmm.
have that stance. Like that's just not how and I don't see anything wrong with the fact that you feel that way, but I just don't feel that way, and I think it's kind of um, insane to me that people would expect for me to feel that way, and I just don't. So I don't know that it will
Do
ever
you
be something. Yeah.
do you think the reason why they think that though? Do you think the reason why? Do you think it might be because no one's ever seen you with a black man in a dating
Absolutely,
space?
but I think that when you see the black men that I've dated who don't want to be on a platform with 1.7 million people because their family members are homophobic and they don't want their family members to have to deal with their brother's kid, their brother's sisters saying that they're dating me, and because I'm in drag singing "pussy puss puss give 'em cunt 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 bitch," I have to respect that. So like, I think
Okay.
that if they were okay with being on my social media, they would have been, and anybody who knows me would be like, yeah, we know who CJ is, we know who Dejan is, we know who Julian is, we know, like, there are people who I've dated that have been like huge figures in my life that anybody who knows me would be like, yeah, we know who these people are. But to be posted onto a website with, I have 9 million followers across all my platforms.
Hmm.
That's not really my decision to post that or to not post it. You know what I mean?
So
And I
you
think
were
there's a
saying
lot of people, huh?
no. So I was gonna say, so for the people who are listening, for the people who are watching, you were saying that Todrick Hall has dated black men before.
Absolutely. And I feel like some of them would get on this call and talk to you actually if I were to
Okay.
message.
Right.
In
Right.
fact,
Right.
I'm gonna text some of them right now just to play a game to see if any of them would be like willing to say to be like, yeah, I'll get on there or I'll talk to you. Let's see what they say because I still talk to them, and I also want you to ask them why we broke up as well if they come on.
So have you ever? Okay. So have you ever had? So you've all your experiences then. So what you're saying is all your experiences with non-black men, with white men, have just been great. Ooh la la la
No,
la.
no.
Okay.
I wrote my song "You Ain't Shit" about a white man who was fucking around with me, doing crazy stuff, lying behind my back. No, none. I mean, they're men. They're men ain't shit. No matter no matter
Right.
where they come from, you're gonna be
I agree
facing a.
with that.
No, but
No,
I
but
think as I'm 41 now, and when I think about somebody who I want to be my partner, I think about if I get to a place where I'm like rehabilitated and I need somebody to wipe my ass and I need somebody that's going to be there with me till the day I die, who's going to sit down and listen to me ramble when I talk, who's going to push me to be a better version of myself, who isn't going to be so stubborn when we get into a fight that every single time I have to break the ice and I have to go in there, who's going to fight for me, who's going to put in the work for me. When I think about all of the things that it's going to take for somebody to challenge me and to be a good partner for me for a lifelong partner. But when I think about all of the things that I now see, because when I first started dating people, I'm like, okay, I just want you to be hot and be somebody I think I could have a good time with. When I was in my 20s, and I
Mhm.
would just look at that. That would be the first thing. And now, as I'm getting older, I'm like, I really, honestly, don't really. I do care that you're hot, but it's like the amount of time I'm not a crazy sexual person, so the amount of time we're gonna be sleeping together is so minuscule to me in comparison to the time we're gonna be spending together talking. If your conversation can be stimulating, if you can push me to be a better version of myself, if you can challenge me, if you can hold me accountable, if you can meet me at my weak points and be strong in those points, if you can take time to accommodate my family, if you can show up and support me, if you can find ways to surprise me, if I'm the breadwinner and you don't have a lot of money, what can you do to think outside the box? You know, my ex-boyfriend went to Plainview, Texas, where I'm from, and I told him I wrote my first songs in this tree behind my house. Someone else owns that house now, but I lived there from the time I was 7 until I was probably 17 or 14. And he went and pulled 3 of the leaves out, and he like preserved those leaves and put them into this like big plaque and gave them to me for
Oh,
Christmas, and with the lyrics engraved of the first song that I ever wrote, and it brought me to tears. It brought my mom to tears, and I was like,
that's nice.
if you're gonna do that for me, if you're gonna think because he doesn't have millions of dollars to be able to like buy me some crazy gift that like I could buy myself, but that was a
Hmm.
level of thoughtfulness and like, um, it was just if you can do all that for me, then. And by the way, I listed a bunch of things that a bunch of people, a bunch of it wasn't just one person. These are just qualities that I've loved about people
Correct.
that I've dated. If you can make me laugh, if you can when I get crazy be like, okay, this is when I know I need to hug you and stuff. If you can make it push through and fight through the hard times with me, I don't give a fuck what race you are. I don't give a fuck if you're 5'2" or if you're 6'8". I don't care if you're slightly overweight, if you are have an eating dis. I don't care. I That's what I care about, because it's so hard to find somebody who's going to be a good life partner, who's going to be able to
Yeah.
raise kids with you. I don't do drugs. I don't party a lot. I don't want to have an open relationship. I don't smoke weed. I don't sit down. I don't want to sit down on the couch and watch TV with somebody. There's a lot of things that like a lot of people enjoy doing, and I need a very, very, very specific person. I'm not an easy person to date, you know? So like when if I find somebody who I think is right for me, I'm like, the last thing I care about is like what ethnicity you are. That part is like not a factor to me. But when I
Okay.
have dated black men, I've been like, wow, this is so much easier because there are so many things I don't have to explain to them. And sometimes my boyfriends get upset with me for talking about how difficult it is for black people, and I'm like, well, you wouldn't know because you don't have to deal with this. Like, and I'll just be coming for them all the time, and they have to just sit there and take it, because they can't say, well, you wouldn't know about me, like
Right.
it is a frustrating thing, and I have had some horrible experiences with people who have had racist parents who uninvited me to Thanksgiving. One of the guys that I like loved the most out of all the people that I've dated, I don't date him because his parents are god awful. They're Trump supporters. I believe they are. Like, he says they're just Republicans, but I believe they're Trump supporters. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think when I go to their house, they're hiding their hats and flags and stuff. I have just this feeling. I've never seen it, but
Right.
there's just something about me that just felt like I was like, I just don't think that your parents are good people, and I would never want them to be the grandparents of my kids. And I loved
I feel
him,
that.
and came to me and said, you're gonna not date me for something that's out of my control. I don't share their beliefs. I don't feel the way that they feel. And I'm like, but why would I bring kids into this world who would have those people as grandparents? I just couldn't do it. And I stopped dating him because of that reason. And it had nothing to do with anything that had gone on wrong in our relationship, which was hard. That was a hard decision for me to make, but I have had to make it. And I don't really regret that decision. I wish that he would like divorce his parents or something, but I think the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and something was
Agreed.
eventually going to come out about him, some bias that he had, and so yeah, it just wasn't worth it for me.
Okay. So check it out. The people are gonna do with this what they want. But I'm glad that we had a conversation. I want to go into one more perceptions, since we're talking about perception, misconceptions, whatever, whatever. We are clearing the air. We're gonna ask all of the things because I know if I don't ask these specific things, the people are gonna tell me that I gave you a softball interview or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't
Um,
think you have. I think you've asked me a bunch of hard questions, and I probably have said a bunch of things that are going to get me in trouble, but it is how I felt in the moment. Are there any
okay.
things that I've said that have surprised you because you probably came in with a preconceived notion, or are you like, no, I kind of felt like you'd feel this way?
Um, Yeah, I don't think you're and I we had this conversation obviously, off the record first. Um I don't think you're anti-black because before I went with the internet, oh, he's anti-black because he doesn't date black people, or he doesn't put black people in his music videos, or then when he does put black people in his music videos, it's stereotypes like the trade. That was a online conversation, and
And you believed that when you saw it before.
oh, so that's the thing. Full disclosure, I only saw bits and pieces. I would see the clips and the things, and then I'm just going with the net. Oh yeah, Todrick's anti-black because
Yeah, but when you saw it, you believed it with like is what you're saying, kind of.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
compared to some of your other videos.
Okay.
So but then when you do some research, it's like, oh no, he's put black people on these projects, and there have been black people in these, in the plays and the musicals and on the albums.
Lots.
Um, hmm?
Lots, I would say.
Yeah, lots. So I'm glad that we've been able, like, I'm seeing this side and having the conversation, and I think that's why it's so important to have conversations with people,
It is.
instead of just making assumptions and going off of those assumptions.
Yeah.
One of those assumptions, and Jeremy really, really cleared it up when he came on the pod. But people say that you don't pay your dancers.
Mm-hmm.
There's been projects that they haven't gotten money and they were never paid. Can you talk to me about where the hell that came from, and then why people, randomly somebody will post something about you, one of the blogs, and then one of the main comments, if it's not about you, not dating
Dating
black
white
men, it's
people.
about
Yeah.
you. Oh, I heard he don't pay. I heard he don't give his dancers money. Where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, I want to just ask you a couple of questions really quickly. Do you know how many videos I've done on my page? Like, do you have any idea? Because I know you
It's
did
a
like a
lot.
little,
I mean, you've been making music since 20. Well, your YouTube's been up at least what, 20 years?
like maybe like it's like 2010,
20
2012.
to
Yeah.
15. Yeah, 15. So I don't know how many videos in
Just
total,
take
but
a
I know it's a
guess.
lot. Let's go with 50.
50.
Well, you're talking about your actual music videos, or you're talking about all of the videos that you've done.
All of the videos, because my videos were
Oh,
very elaborate before I started
yeah,
making music videos.
yeah. Oh my God. Then that upwards to 1,000.
700, over 700 videos. And you
Yeah.
make videos, so you understand, they might not be music videos, but you understand just on today
Mm-hmm.
how difficult it's been to, like, there have been technical issues. So I think that when people talk about something, it's again one of those things, like, people make definitive statements. I think we live in a culture that wants things to be black or white or up or down or good or bad, and most things, as we know, as humans, lie somewhere in the middle. And, like, I don't know that there is a single dancer that was promised payment ever in my career that has not received payment. But there are a
Yeah.
lot of people who have done videos that they knew they were doing for free, that signed documents, legal documents, saying that they would do it for free. You've been talking about on this conversation so many times what black people don't get away with shit. Like, what could I possibly do with the Nails Hair Hips Heels video, for example? Like, there's 75 people in that. If I owed
Mm-hmm.
75 people money that were in that video, I don't think any person with common sense would list all those people by first and last names in the comments. And if I owed them money, they would just file a class action lawsuit and they would win. Like, and it would be no problem because it'd be 75, let the internet tell it, white people versus me. If you know anything about white people, they're not going to be taken advantage of by anybody, and definitely not by somebody black. Like, if that
Right.
were the case, they would have just sued me and they would have gotten their money. But there has been no lawsuit because they all agreed to be in this video for free. They agreed to come and do it. I'm an independent artist. I don't have money like Lil Nas X would have, or like Doja Cat or any artist would have.
Right.
Like, I don't have a record label. You've never seen like a Universal Interscope Records. I'm like a little gay faggoty boy from Texas that has made my own way. I paid for all 700 of those videos, and anytime I've told dancers they're getting paid from my 9 tours that I've done, whatever, I got paid. But if you were in Beauty and the Beat and where we're rocking through the hood, no, I didn't pay you. If you were in the Target video, I didn't pay you. If there's a video with 75 people in it, which most celebrities don't, and I think Jeremy said in that video, there's massive celebrities, massive ones that have money to spare, that are allowing people to dance in their videos and their flash mobs for $100 or for nothing, for just exposure, and
Exposure.
they're not getting ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
But for me, I personally think that, like, Bob the drag queen, a good friend of mine, was like, people don't like you. They don't care if the dancers aren't paid. They've heard stories about people that they love not paying their dancers. They don't like you, and that is the one thing they can do to justify it. Even if that were true, and I had not paid my dancers, and there was a bill for 75 dancers in that video that I didn't pay, if it was somebody that they liked, or if it was somebody white, it was 7 years ago, they would have forgiven it by now. But they are
Oh, for
gonna, like,
sure.
rake me over the coals for a video I was never supposed to pay those dancers. Only one out of 75 dancers. There would have been 75 of them saying you didn't pay him. I have been, like, very Tasmanian devil-esque in my approach to making videos. I was making so many videos, 700 videos. So every now and then there would be somebody, I'd go to a gay bar and they'd be like, you owe my friends money because they bedazzled some tights for you 2 years ago. And I'd be like, okay, I don't, drop me the Venmo. I'll send it to them. I
Right.
was, learning how to produce and making so many videos, and the videos had animals and special effects and costumes and wigs and period dresses and tons of music production and rentals of locations and tons of cameras and all the things. It was like a very, very crazy chapter, but I stopped doing it because I realized that I didn't have the wherewithal to produce all these videos at this level
Mm-hmm.
by myself, and people weren't giving me grace. They were like, you
Mm-hmm.
owe me this money, and over $200 I will go on the internet and drag the fuck out of you, and not just say you owe me $200, but you were also racist and colorist when I was there doing this
Mm-hmm.
video. And even though you're standing right next to me, the person that started these rumors was like, he didn't want anybody black standing next to him, and because they wanted to believe it, they did. But if you go look at the screenshots of the video, you'd be like, oh, he's right next to Todrick, so that must not be true. But people want to feed this narrative for whatever reason. They would rather believe this. They'd rather believe what they heard rather than what they saw. And I think that
Mm.
that is part of the demise of humanity right now, not just for me, but I think that we as human beings need to take every single piece of content and rumor that we hear about somebody and remember that it's a real person on the other side. Whether people agree with my politics or think that it's problematic that I've dated white people and they think that I've never hooked up with anybody black, I still am a person that is like a huge, you know, influence in this community, and I have like used so much of my platform for advocacy and to fight for awareness of and to be a place where some black people who are musical theater lovers are like, I see myself in him, where I don't see it represented in other places. And they, when I go see shows and people are like, I pursued musical theater because I watched your YouTube channel, I came out of the
Mm.
closet because I saw you do it and I heard your story about you coming out as 14. That is to me what my legacy I want it to be. I hate the fact that I've done all of this insane work and we will diminish Will Smith's career to him slapping somebody on stage, or
Yeah.
will diminish Lizzo's entire career and discography to this rumor that came out about a dancer. And white people don't have to deal with that. They will support their people, and you will have to do something crazy to be canceled. They'll do insane things and
I
it'll
mean,
be
look
hard.
who the president is.
Right. But the thing is, I think that we as black people have the power to overcome that. Like when Jussie Smollett did whatever he supposedly did or didn't do allegedly, we were the
Hmm.
first people to be like almost happy to watch his demise and make jokes about it. And I think until the footage comes out one day, which it still has not, where it undeniably like unwaveringly like says he did this, matter of factly, he should be given the benefit of the doubt that they would give anybody else. That's what I think,
Okay.
but I don't know. I feel like I'm alone in that, but that's what I think. I think you should be innocent until proven guilty. If you um I don't know. And I just think that we live in a society where we need to like uplift our people, even if we don't necessarily agree with every single thing we think they may or may not have done. And that's why I appreciate you inviting me on your podcast today to find out for yourself, because a lot of people wouldn't want to have this conversation. They would have had their mind made up. And I think that these conversations are important. Maybe people who get off of this are going to be like, yeah, I still don't fuck with him. But maybe some people will be like, honestly,
Hmm.
okay, that all checks out. It sounds like it's real, and maybe if he comes to town and he's doing a pride, I'll go see it and just
I
see
might go
what's up.
check it out. Right.
Yeah,
Oh, this has been good. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna close out here, and hopefully this does push people to have another conversation once they get off of here, get done with it, and then hey, I was listening to this. Let's talk about it. You feel me? And then just
yeah,
talk. That's really what this show here is about. Is just getting people to have these conversations.
yeah.
Um, Before we get out of here, though, what's next? I know you've been traveling the world. You just got back to the United States. What's next for you? What do you have going on? What can the people really look out for?
I've been focusing on theater. I might be putting out some new music, but mostly I just want to do theater. I love theater. It was my
Hmm.
first love, and I think that the cancellations and everything I've gone through made me stop, take a step back, and say like, okay, change your behavior. Stop doing videos. Wait till you can play catch up, and decide what it is that you really want. And my heart has always been in musical theater, and that's what I'm chasing now. And I'm writing a musical that kind of talks about a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. And I hope that what I've gone through that has inspired me to write this musical will resonate with people and change hearts and lives. And I hope I get to meet you in person. Maybe I'll
I'm
invite
gonna
you
check it
to
out.
opening night and you can come see the
Yeah,
musical.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Okay.
And then what can people expect? This is a question that I ask every single guest before they get out of here. Okay. Where do you see Todrick Hall 5 years from now?
I hope to be married. I hope to have kids. And I hope to be in such a place of happiness, because for the past 6 or 7 years over this social media stuff, I've been very torn and like, unsure of who I was and figuring out what lessons to learn. I have realized, like, mortality is a real thing, and we're not only going to be
Mhm.
on this planet for a short amount of time. And I want to surround myself with people who light up when I walk into the room, and I just want to be like wrapped in a cocoon of happiness. Not to say that I won't experience horrible things, because that's life, and without the dark, like, you can't really appreciate the light. But I
Mhm.
just want to be so secure in what I'm doing that I feel solid. If at any point it's time for me to go, I want to be able to, get to the pearly gates and say, like, I think I stood for what I wanted to stand for, and I think that I was as good of a person as I could be. I've become a better person over the past few years because I've done a lot of soul searching, and I want to be
Love that.
somebody whose existence matters. I want to keep doing. I want to keep advocating for both of my communities, the Black community and the queer community, even when sometimes they give me the blues more than anybody. But I love Black people and I love queer people. I love them. I think that Black people are the most resilient, most beautiful, most talented, most underappreciated people on the planet. And I feel the same about queer people. And I used to sometimes, like, say, wouldn't life be easier if I was, like, if I was straight, like, if I lived in a world where, like, what doors could I open? If you were born a white straight man, what does life look
Mhm.
like for you? And I cannot imagine anything worse than that now. Like, I'm like, I would never want to change that. I think that my voice and everything, I used to be in musical theater, and, like, hate the fact that my voice was so soulful because I felt like I couldn't blend with all the other people. And I'm like, they should be blending into me because I'm the one with the
Mhm.
gift, like, and
Mhm.
it took me a long time to get to that point. So I think that's something that people probably see about me when they see me, is I spent a lot of time code shifting and trying to, like, fit into this musical theater world that wasn't really made for me to fit into. And now, rather than trying to fit into it, I'm ready to, like, pave my own path and make Black excellence on Broadway be something that can't be ignored, that's undeniable. And I think that's part of why I was created and put on the earth, and why I was given this such specific frame of reference and gift. And I hope I'm able to utilize that.
I love that answer. And I'm excited to see what you do next. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being willing to, some people might have seen that post and like blocked us or talk shit in the comments, and it never gave that. And then just being willing to come on and have a conversation. I appreciate you for that.
I appreciate you for allowing me the space and for asking the questions. You didn't take it easy on me. You asked me a lot of hard questions. I was very nervous. Hope I gave the right answers, but I think we need more of this. I think we need more people like us, more queer people, more Black people, more Black queer people reaching out to other Black queer people and saying, I don't understand you. Let me talk to you and try to figure out how we can
Yep.
get on the same page. And I hope that we can continue to stay in touch. And
Sure.
yeah, I appreciate you. I think the reason, this is what your platform is supposed to be used for, to bring us together, not separate us.
Thank,
So thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let the people know where they can find you.
At Todrick on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. Like, there's not that many Todricks, so type
Google
Todrick.
him, y'all. You'll find
Google
him
me,
first.
Google me, darling.
First result. First result. All right, y'all. Make sure that you follow me at It's Micah B. Make sure you follow the Black Gay Agenda at the Black Gay Agenda. The first and the third Wednesday, we bring you another conversation with Micah B, a Black Gay Agenda original, and then every single Friday is myself, Alex, AP, and Dupree giving you the main Black Gay Agenda pod. We got a lot more coming from the platform that I'll announce soon. But we're about to get out of here. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Make sure you continue to join the conversation. Before we get out of here, don't forget this episode was brought to you by Jack, the app where connection meets culture. So, whether you're still thinking about that topic we just got into or thinking about somebody you want to get into, ooh, remember your next crush is one download away. Meet them here, Jack app. If you're new, download Jack now. Already on it. Open Jack now. See who's nearby. You never know who might be waiting to match that energy. Because when the mics go off, the conversation doesn't have to stop. Not on Jacked.